Alright, it is 9:26 a.m. February the 17th, 21, and I have several stocks on the main list. Really couldn't sleep this night either. I just couldn't sleep. I don't know. I was just thinking about a whole bunch of things, stocks and other things outside of it. But DFFN, the stock I would have in theory held overnight, is now in the 170s. I saw it in the 180s. Maybe I could have sold it in the 180s. This thing could still uptrend, do a nice continuation, a nice movement, but the idea holding overnight was that it's the first day, broke out the range, people see the news, people see the technical analysis, people want to buy after hours or whatever, you know, at the market open today. It's in the 170s. And this is to take into consideration that the overall markets are down, not very much, but we're down 0.40% at least with SPY. So, you know, for this thing to be up at 1.5% when it was in the 180s, it's pretty impressive considering, you know, that in mind with the overall market. So I'm going to remove it. I'm going to put it on the other screen just to watch, but I don't really think there might be much action. I don't know, I could totally be wrong, but it's just not going to be our priority. We have some sketchy PETZ, DOGZ. These are both Chinese companies. I don't know, dude. Cats, dogs, they both seem to be trading the same too, somewhat. I'm gonna have to be watching these. Right now they look a little sold off, so maybe they're just enticing idiots with an increased amount of volume volatility to sell into them. I don't know. I'll have to keep looking. ONCY, another sketchy stock. It's just dropped a lot from where it was previously. Same with CNET, although this one blew out of a range, which is impressive. LODE I think I like the most. Only problem is that this thing is expensive. They're always expensive when they're this crazy volatile. Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to keep watching. No clear setups right now, but some potential opportunities. Okay, so 9:33 a.m. markets are tanking. So it's the rest of the stocks are also tanking. LODE seems to be now in the 8s, maybe potential inverse head and shoulders with these. I don't know. I could, in theory, maybe consider a dip buy here, but I don't like that setup because I've been burned a lot. CNET, I actually had a chance to buy because it kind of held this 425 level, and it did just that. It got to 425, 424, and they had a nice spike now in the 440s. The only issue, of course, is that it's going to be tough for it to get past this 450, perhaps. It might have been a bit excessive. The sell-off at the morning market open, but could also be justified. My issue was that I wanted to see it perhaps drop here in the 410s. And it's also just hard to buy something that's dropping towards a level and you don't know if it's going to break it or continue to you know, with a reversal at that very level. So I don't feel too bad for missing that one. ONCY is also dropping. None of these really have a support level, except for CNET. Same with DOGZ. Looks like this one is trying to wake up, but it had a nice drop there. Same with PETZ. Very similar price action. Nothing I want to trade right now. Really, if I wanted to be specific, and I might do it, I'll get rid of PETZ, DOGZ, ONCY. These are like the most sketchiest stocks. This one might try to hold $4, and I'll just keep CNET and LODE and probably keep looking for more setups, different stocks, maybe some more in the chat room. Okay, it's 9:41 a.m. I'm sorry, but Tim Sykes got pwned. I'm sure he'll be fine, but dude, he bought in this little baby dip at 95 and now it's at 90. You know, but I guess what I would say is that yesterday it did the same thing. It had a little baby dookie spike here, and then it tried to hold there, but then it failed, and then it did it, and then it dropped even more. I don't know why I don't know. I mean, I guess he's just gonna double down here, but I mean, if that's what it did the other day, why not, you know, take that into account today? Because that's what it did. Although, did it just like crack a level and then not really touch it? 95. No, not really. This one actually held. Yesterday was different because when it had that little fakey drop, it kind of like broke right under here, I think, right under this one, and then it had more room to drop. Of course, it's not an exact science. He probably doubled down. Yeah, he did. He doubled down. Alright. Well, you better hope this spike works, because, you know, you're in a larger position now. And here's the thing, another one dropping for these number 5 patterns is SIRC. Although this one's a bit sketchy because this has been dropping hard every day, so you're like, well, should I actually buy it? Maybe I'll buy it and I'll keep dropping. That might be why it's down 20%. Well, like, it looks scary for a number 5 pattern because, I mean, you're like, you know, it's now in the 130s. Okay, it might do it here, but it just seems scary because it has been dropping, if you look at a daily chart, very, very aggressively every single day. So that's kind of hard to want to buy into, but let's see if it does it. We're at 130 by 136. We have a seller on the ask, but we have a nice bidder here at 25,000. We'll see. Could totally work out, but I can't trade these. Probably should have set up my TD immediate trade account for this. But yeah, PETZ got halted, and that scares me from wanting to mess with DOGZ. They're both Chinese companies. I don't know if they're related or not, but I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences. PETZ and DOGZ both spiking the same day, so I'll wait and see why. It is trying to hold that $4 level, but this almost looks like an upside down bull flag, and I don't know if that pattern works, an upside down bull flag and inverse bull flag. So I'm just gonna leave it alone, and it's also gonna have resistance here at 450. Unless I wanted to buy at 4, you know, risk it off of it holding at 4 and, you know, sell into a spike. I'd be tempted to sell here because, you know, it might not even get to the 450s, or maybe it does, but it's all a game of odds. And CNETs don't want to touch this. This one's actually cracking this 420 level, so I don't want to mess with that. LODE looks like it's starting to reverse. I could trade this if it makes an inverse head and shoulders, but there's no setups right now. Some very interesting looking number 5s. We'll see how it keeps going. Okay, it's 9:59 a.m. DOGZ kind of looks like what you could say. Well, in theory, it's an ugly inverse head and shoulders, a very choppy one. Shoulder, head, shoulder. It could continue the uptrend, but it already failed at 380. It might be trying again for another attempt. It might fail. It might just fall right here. So nothing I really want to trade, even though it's up 59%. Its price action is not good. ONCY could have been an inverse head and shoulders, but the head here is much higher than this level, so not really a pattern I'm interested in. Again, all these broke a major level of support, so not necessarily something I want to trade, but something I will try to improve on is just look at these later in the day to see if they continue some kind of an uptrend or a strong reversal, maybe putting up higher lows that I could get into. But other than that, I'm not interested. CNET is probably the best one, at least the one that has recovered the most. This one, I saw when it was doing this, a potential inverse head and shoulders. It was just too ugly for me to want to trade it, although it is working now, I guess, from the 430s to the 470s. Now it's gonna have to fight all of this resistance here, but we'll see how it can do. I don't care. I'm not in the stock, but if it doesn't, maybe I'll be interested in it. Maybe I'll make a nice setup. LOTE kind of looks like it's making a head and shoulders. Just no setups right now. I guess to make an update with the OTCs. TSNP eventually recovered. This is just like yesterday, although of course it's not an exact science, but yesterday had a little fakey boopy doopy little dip right here, and it failed, and then it got to right here, then it had a small spike, and then it failed. So it failed twice, and this one failed twice. Failed the little baby, and then here it failed again, and then it actually worked right here from 85 to 94. I'm just curious, did it drop to a level of support? Not really. I mean, you can base it right off of here, but that's a bit iffy. But you know, with that in mind, knowing that TSNP tends to do a little fake out number 5 before it does a real thing, would have protected anyone. I think Tim sold for a small loss, although this one now, the third one, worked out. So some other stocks out there like AABB, wow, that actually just lost all of its gains. And I think Michael Goodwin in this stock, it's just not as well. It looks better now, but the markets are down, so that could have an effect on this, as well as that we've already had some culprits that could be affecting the entire thing, like COUV being halted. So it could definitely get a lot worse, and that could be the sign of something turning. But unfortunately for me, someone who likes trading listed stocks and would like more people looking at listed stocks, it might take a very long time before it actually gets to that case. In the meantime, I'm gonna have to still go ahead and prepare that TD immediate trade and configure it so that I can trade OTCs potentially. I'll keep looking for more setups. Another one, yeah, WKSP is talked about. Not that. Yeah, very nice. You know, it continued the run from this first day, which was, well, no, not really. It's actually a first day, if you ask me. Pretty impressive. I've noticed that number 5 patterns, they don't work on a stock that's up a lot and it drops. I mean, it can. It's just not as consistent as something like TSNP. Although that one, you might say, is not too consistent. It does work out eventually. So I'll make an update later. Just no setups right now. Okay, it's 10:13. Yeah, just no setups. Really, no setups. Nothing I really wanted to trade. I guess looking back now in theory, because I haven't been too focused, just seeing that a lot of these guys are dropping. CNET, the only one that really seems to be coming back out of all of them. If you wanted to, you could base it off of this 460-ish level. It almost broke it here. It came back, put up a lower high, unfortunately, dropped, broke it completely, confirmed breakdown over this 450 level. Didn't even get to the 460. Tried again, didn't get much further. I guess a crappy looking inverse head and shoulders. Very powerful, the inverse head and shoulders, if you ask me. Cracked 450, went back under it, confirmed breakout over 450. Now it broke 460 like it didn't care. Got up to the 485 level, dropped right back at this 460 level. This could have been, at least from right now, the only buy that I see that I could have done in theory. And I probably might have missed it just because it did it in one candle, the immediate bounce. And then, you know, I'm trying to hold in the 470s now at 5. So really the only setup here is this that I really like. LODE did put up head and shoulders. It actually dropped too. I'm not gonna trade this. ONCY, crappy inverse head and shoulders, crappy results. DOGZ, I guess the inverse head and shoulders kind of worked, but it didn't drop that much. And PETZ, I took it off, but it's just disappointing, and I would definitely not be involved with this. SCKT is down 30%, broke this 1522 level, so that's something I don't want to touch for that reason. DFFN, I probably would have maybe sold, I guess maybe here in the 74s after it spiked to 85 and it failed. The volume isn't what it was the other day, so probably would have sold somewhere into here in theory. I don't really know, of course, but that still would have been much nicer than that 169 level that I sold at, especially if I managed to get it in the 80s. That's pretty impressive overall, and had it have been maybe a better market for listed stocks and a better overall market today, it probably could be doing better, but it's not for that reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. As for OTCs, I mean, yeah, we have TSNP. It came back very nicely now, and looks like it's trying to fight $1. Looks like it just touched it here. Just no setups right now. I'll keep looking, and tomorrow I will have TD immediate trade ready. So if I have to, I'll trade OTCs, although I know that market is starting to fade a little because of those halts with COUV and the overall dropping that we're starting to see more often. A lot of fake out drops, so yeah, we're just gonna have to keep looking. Still some nice setups there. It's just not as nice as it used to be. Okay, it is a 10:41 a.m. and PETZ DOGZ woke up. PETZ ended up being a bit of a halter, especially when it started its first halt, just from dropping. It's continuing with this uptrend. Nothing I really want to trade. I'm not into halters really. DOGZ, I guess, woke up. It just had this move from the 340s to the 460s. Unfortunately, I think this is just manipulation. When whoever the heck is behind these stocks, they just, you know, they cut the supply, and I guess it starts making the stock spike like crazy, and then they're gonna release it, and I guess they're gonna start, you know, covering into the sell-off. I don't know. It's just a bit sketchy, but if it makes maybe an inverse head and shoulders, I'd be interested. I'd have to be careful. Maybe it makes a shoulder here based off 4, head in the 380s, and then a shoulder. I'll look for that, but it's already 10:42, so I am going to start looking away from the markets just a little more, and I will have that in mind. But if there's no setups, CNET has dropped ever since. Might make a head and shoulders, make a shoulder towards the 480s. I don't know. I don't want to trade this. No setups that I want to trade. LODE, nothing I want to trade either, although it is starting to do an uptrend. Just no setups right now. We'll see if maybe, which one is it? Yeah, DOGZ, and we'll see if maybe DOGZ can put up some kind of setup, but I'm not too sure of it. It just seems very manipulative. Okay, it is 11:31 a.m. Yeah, I'm just going to call it off. CNET did have a nice run up to the 530s. There was that dip buy opportunity. Where was it? I think here, the dip buy opportunity. Other than that, really just no setups that I wanted to do. No, there are short setups, definitely short setups, no long setups. I went ahead and made some adjustments with the TD immediate trade account. I'll make that a margin account so I can short there if the shares are available there. And number 2, on top of being able to short there, if by any chance it's available, I'll do an OTC setup. That wouldn't be bad. I have to pay $6.95 commission there in and out, so it's not going to really matter if I'm on a cash account or not, because I have to trade a position large enough to really benefit from it. So that will be a margin account. I'll be able to short there. I can probably consider more setups. PETZ, I just don't want to trade halters like this. LODE is fading again. CNET, it's trying to come back, but I don't want to trade it anymore. I'm going to call it off. Overall, pretty good trading day. Just that one really nice setup with CNET right here. Other than that, no clear setups. Some OTCs made some nice runs. AABB made a somewhat okay number 5. TSNP was a overall nice number 5. Again, this one is known to do fake out number 5s before it does the real one. Overall, good trading day. I'm just gonna have to keep working on it.